The Pursuit of Happyness does a good job at representing two distinct relationships, both of which change dynamically over the period of the movie. We will be analyzing the relationship of Chris Gardner and Linda Gardner, the father and mother, as well as the relationship between Chris Gardner and Christopher Gardner, the father and son.
Element 1. Stages of relational termination. Interpsychic phase. Linda decided that her relationship with her husband isn't benefiting her anymore. She has to work double shifts at her job, and her husband Chris could hardly ever make money for the family, leading her to make the drastic decision to leave. This is an example of social exchange theory. This theory claims that people make decisions based by assessing and comparing costs and rewards. Dyadic phase. This is when the partner provides justifications to leave. In the movie, Linda discusses her relationship with Chris, saying how she does not care about the relationship anymore. Linda finally confronts to Chris that she wants to take her son and leave, terminating their relationship.
Lastly, for element 1, we move on to grave dressing. A large amount of grave dressing is introduced when you take a look at the relationship between the father and the son, such as when Christopher asks his father why their mother left, instead of saying the truth about how she is tired of being broke and just can't do it anymore, he just tells his son, "Mom left because of Mom." Doing this is how Chris dresses up the fact that this is a really bad situation, so that his son does not think anything of it. Let's move on to element 2, strategies of relational termination. First, we'll look at the indirect side. Looking at the indirect side of relational termination, we have to focus on the relationship between Linda and Chris, or the mother and father. Starting out, you begin to notice early on in the movie, Linda really doesn't seem to care. She even at one point just tells Chris whatever, whenever he is suggesting something. Moving on to pseudo-de-escalation, the relationship to Chris is perfectly fine, but we can see Linda has already defined it at a much lower level, in which she starts to weigh her benefits from the relationship and the cost of being in it, in which she eventually goes to our final point in indirect strategies, fading away, in which Linda up and moves out of nowhere with no warning. Let's move on to direct. Looking at the direct side of the relationship, these really seem to shine in the movie because they are easiest to see. When Linda first mentions she wants to leave Chris, she starts to provide justification, in which she starts to say that she just can't take it anymore, and says that she can't stand Chris anymore, and finally saying that she no longer loves him, which in turn leads to the ongoing threats and bullying between the two, mostly between the son. Linda initially takes Christopher, but after an argument between the two in which she is threatening to keep him, Chris just keeps saying, "You can't take my boy, my son." And then finally, she gives up when Chris tells her, "You can't take care of him and you know it."
Now element number 3, Circumpo's model of family interaction. I will now discuss the changes in the model for the Gardner family. At point A, before the family splits, they're structurally connected. The family has a good work-life balance. Dad drops off Christopher, Mom picks up Christopher. Everyone knows their role in the family. At point B, when the family splits, they're chaotically connected. Chris continuously struggles with work. The family is now 3 months behind all payments, and Linda decided that she cannot handle this lifestyle anymore. During the movie, Jaden caught the emotions of his parents whenever they would argue. This is an example of emotion and contagion theory. The relationship of the parents was not a healthy environment for him. At point C, when Chris found his happiness, they become bridgely connected. Chris becomes financially stable and now can provide for himself and, most importantly, his son.
Element 4, conflict management styles. Two styles are exhibited in this movie, accommodation and avoidance. Accommodation because of the fact that Chris has a low concern for himself, but yet a high concern for his son. So therefore, when conflict arises, he makes sure his son is helped first. Secondly, we see avoidance with Chris and his wife, Linda, in which they tend to do this to prevent any more problems in the family. But it is rather obvious they do not want to address each other's problems very civilly.
Element 5, deception. Recall deception by omission, which is intentionally holding back some information another person has requested or that you are expected to share. About 3/4 into the movie, Chris and his son become completely homeless. In an effort to stay indoors, they go down into a subway tunnel at night to take shelter. While they are sitting on the bench, his son murmurs, "It's not a time machine," referring to what the crazy man had called Chris's bone density scanners. Chris then tells his son that they are machines and that all you have to do is press this button. The time machine takes them back to the land of the dinosaurs, and they have to look for a cave to hide in. This cave is a public bathroom. Instead of telling his son about the situation, he distracts his son by referencing his medical machine as the time machine, convincing him that everything is okay and it's just imagination. This idea is also a form of saving face, in which Chris is trying to keep up the impression of his son that he's a good dad. In conclusion, the Pursuit of Happyness film is a good example of interpersonal communications in relationship by the following elements. 1. Stages of relational termination. 2. Strategies of relational termination. 3. Circumpost model of family interactions. 4. Conflict management styles. And 5. Deception. Thanks for watching.